Red One. Released November 15, 2024. Directed by Jake Kasdan. Written by Chris Morgan and Hiram Garcia. Starring Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, and Lucy Liu. Rotten Tomatoes score, 32%. Metacritic, 34. IMDb, 6.9. MPAA rating PG-13. Welcome back to Real Reviews. Like always, I am your host, Lee. Today we are talking about Red One, the newest movie starring The Rock and a Christmas action movie to boot. I have heard things like, it is an instant Christmas classic, all the way to, don't watch this movie, but what do I think? Let's talk about it. So this movie is many things. It is fun. At times it is funny. It has some heartfelt moments. It even has, at least at a glance, accurate lore about Christmas, which I honestly didn't expect. That is about where the positives end. The acting is rough to say the least. Well, more accurately, the writing for the actors doesn't seem to be great. We know from movies like Knives Out that Chris Evans can act. Lucy Liu has many movies that show her skill. But so much of what they say or do isn't great. Kiernan Shipka is possibly one of the worst parts of this movie as the villain. Even when the lines should be menacing, none of it lands. J.K. Simmons is well himself, and the same for The Rock. For Simmons, this isn't a problem, because he isn't in much of the movie, but for The Rock, that is a problem as he is in the whole thing. Is the story good? Well, it isn't the worst, but it is pretty basic. A hacker steals information that leads to the location of Santa and gets Santa kidnapped. Except not really. The heroes go around the world hunting down his whereabouts. They are assisted by Lucy Liu's character, who is the director of a secret organization that is meant to maintain mythical creatures. Gryla kidnapped Santa to steal his power of making toys to reproduce an item to punish everyone on the naughty list because she feels like the world has gone to hell because Santa doesn't punish anyone. She isn't really wrong, but the whole plan is just dumb. They do introduce some interesting elements like toys being able to be turned into real things with a reality-changing bracer. The storage rooms in toy stores are a way for people from the North Pole to teleport around the world. Santa can basically travel at light speed. All pretty interesting things to have in the world. Santa, Krampus, and Gryla are all real, and they all know each other. Again, interesting, but the way that they play out and interact is pretty boring. Honestly, Krampus felt shoehorned in. The main segment that Krampus is in is just there to explain the item that Gryla is using. For me, neither the protagonist or the antagonist really work, but the side characters are a bit redeeming. Except Nick Kroll, but I don't like him, so no matter what role he is in, I just don't like it. Christopher Hivju as Krampus is honestly kind of delightful. The effects aren't bad either, that is because they are consistent. You notice everything that is computer-generated, but they aren't really supposed to look normal. That whole magic thing can explain that. Even though it does look fake, it doesn't look fake in that way that looks bad against all of the normal actors. A lot of the more interesting effects are lighting effects like the reindeers flying and the energy around Santa. Probably the most offensive thing about this movie is that it doesn't really work within the genre. Is it a Christmas movie? Yes, but that is probably one of the easiest bars to clear. It is a movie that happens around Christmas. That is the only requirement. But it kind of fails in the action department. There are only a few fight scenes, and they are fine, but they aren't really going to satisfy that action movie itch. The one thing that this movie does do well is it doesn't feel drawn out. Like I mentioned earlier, I do feel like Krampus is shoehorned in, but it didn't draw anything out pacing-wise in a way that feels awful. Which is honestly impressive, because better movies have had pacing issues when they run up on the same 2-hour runtime. So I didn't enjoy this movie, I didn't hate it, I didn't consider walking out, but it wasn't great. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 8 or a 5 out of 10 stars. I would really only recommend this if you have a kid around the age of 10 or so. They will get a kick out of it. It isn't too violent or anything like that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I tend to have 2 videos out per week, real reviews like this or AI reviews depending on releases. Until next time.